Welcome back to the Christian Century YouTube channel. I'm John, joined today by one of our writers, Kristina Lizardy-Hajbi, who has written an article, actually came out a few months ago, called Songs That Call Me Home to Puerto Rico, about the music of Bad Bunny. We decided to wait and record this right now, just after the Super Bowl, so we could talk about the performance at halftime. So we're going to chat about the article and the performance. Before we dive into all that, hello, Christina. Good to have you on the channel. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you, John. I am a faculty member at Iliff School of Theology in Denver, Colorado, and I'm also an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Very cool. Well, so this essay was back kind of when the news broke, I think, that Bad Bunny was going to be performing the Super Bowl halftime. And your essay was part of your reaction to that news. For those out there who missed the essay, can you recap for us how you felt when you heard that news break and why that mattered so much to you?
So I am a second generation born mainland Puerto Rican. So my grandparents were born on the island. My dad was born in the Bronx, and I was born in Colorado. So second generation mainland born. And um, so being Puerto Rican, but yet growing up in a space where there weren't a lot of other Puerto Ricans around me. There were a lot of Chicanas, Chicanos, indigenous folks, of course, Anglo folks, and so had felt somewhat disconnected to my culture and context for a while. And Bad Bunny and his music, I mean, I started listening several years ago, but this latest album really brought me to a place of reconnection with my roots and reconnection to all of the cultural memories that I have as a child and also the cultural roots that I don't have or thought had been severed. And so I wrote this article as that experience of hearing Bad Bunny and the impact that it's had on my own identity as a Latina, as a Puerto Rican, and sort of the sense of pride that his music gives me. And I think the ways that his music is obviously connecting more than just for Puerto Ricans, but for Latinas across the world and for people who aren't Latina. His message is resonating. And so, yeah, that's basically the background for the article and what the article is a little bit about under the shadow in the context of the Super Bowl, which is really a minor event given what we saw last night in terms of the halftime show.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Speaking of which, yeah, we are recording this just the day after the Super Bowl. So the performance is very fresh in all of our minds at this moment. So I'd love to hear what your just initial takeaways were, whether maybe overall the impact of the performance as a whole. Maybe there were some individual moments you want to call out that were really significant or really jumped out at you. I'd love to just, yeah, hear your takeaways from the show.
There was so much beauty. I cried. So and I know that many other people cried and many other Puerto Ricans cried too, just as to see something that represents who we are, our culture in a language that is not English, in a language that many of us grew up with, many of us, call home in our bodies. I think was a huge had a huge impact because that's not been seen before on that big of a stage in sort of mainstream American culture in a particular way before. There was so much symbolism and overt and covert nods to Puerto Rican life and culture in that 13 minutes that Bad Bunny had that it's really hard to share everything. I mean, and it was also very political. I mean, there from everything to, the pava hats that rural folks wore in Puerto Rico and working in the fields themselves, the sugar cane at the beginning is a huge piece and has a huge colonial history in Puerto Rico And so starting with that and then going to the more political moment of the electrical poles and those going out as a and the song that he sang El Apagón in that moment is a direct critique of Luma, which is the private US based energy company that took over after Hurricane Maria, and has been nothing but trouble. And there are regular power outages on the island as a result of that. And so that song and while he's holding the Puerto Rican flag with the light blue as a symbol of independence, I mean, there was so much there that was just beautiful. And at the end, he says, "God bless America." And then he lists all of the countries that are in America because America is a continent and it's the Western Hemisphere. And doing that in that show of unity and celebration was just lovely. Yeah, so there's so much in there that was beautiful, rich, and that brought out a cultural aspect on a stage that really was never meant for people like us. And yet the world saw who Puerto Rico is and was, and who Puerto Ricans from the diaspora are and our culture.
Thank you. Yeah, if anyone out there is watching this somehow wanted to watch this conversation but hasn't seen the actual performance by Bad Bunny, it is available here on YouTube. You can go find it. I went back and watched parts of it again just to take it in more and experience it again. I far less attuned to the dynamics and elements and symbolism in the video than I'm sure you were. I was gonna say to me that and that final moment, which was more overt, the naming of the different countries that make up America was so powerful to me. And I think the football at the end said "Together we are America," something to that effect.
Yeah.
It, it probably just largely as a white person, but I've known the last several years it's become kind of in vogue to say, "Hey, don't say America to just mean the USA." So that's been on my radar. But the performance from Bad Bunny, that part of the performance to me really created a sense of mutual belonging with all the peoples who live in America and all the countries that make it up. And I just thought it was so powerful. So I was grateful for that part myself.
Yeah, yeah, really beautiful. And his message is that love is stronger than hate, and love brings us together across language, across culture. And that message has been clear even as he critiques these broader elements of what it's like to live in Puerto Rico and be Puerto Rican in a country, especially during this time where we're seeing threats by ICE and real harm coming to citizens and even people who aren't citizens, but really we all live on the same hemisphere, and that's really his message.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to the last thing I wanted to ask you about. With this backdrop of ICE and all that's happening with immigration policy in the U.S. and enforcement, um, there was a very loud backlash by some folks against the announcement of Bad Bunny doing this show. Turning Point USA sort of infamously hosted their own alternate halftime performance for folks who wanted to watch that instead. I'm curious if you just have any remarks as you've observed the public reception of Bad Bunny and his performance. Just why do you think certain groups, conservative groups, have been reacting the way they have to Bad Bunny's performance or the announcement of his performance?
I think because the groundswell of the popularity of Bad Bunny and the reach that he's been able to attain globally. I just heard that his album is #1 in China now. And so, I mean, globally, the influence that he has, and now that influence has taken center stage at the most sort of Americana event of the year, that caused a lot of tension and stress for those who are MAGA followers, for conservatives, Christian nationalists who really hold to this idea that America, that the United States in particular, is this one thing. It's white, it's Christian, it's English speaking only. It's all of these things, and we've seen this backlash that Trump has. He's really trying to recreate this America from this 1950s imagination, white imagination. But I think that the popularity, and because that is not who the U.S. is, I mean, there's just there are a lot of people here, and there are a lot of people who love and know people who are not white and have them in their families, and so there's just I don't think that that kind of rhetoric and that kind of hatred will win out. At the same time, I do think there is a sense of nostalgia and loss of privilege, of loss of something that MAGA folks are grieving. While I don't think that that's something that should be grieved, I do think that we need to hear that and to come together. And I hope that those folks will listen to Bad Bunny at some point and listen to the message. And his message is about love and overcoming hate. It's a tough moment. I write about that a little bit, sort of this feeling of nostalgia and feeling spiritually moved by Bad Bunny's performances. And I know that MAGA folks also feel that sense of movement or stirring when they hear, the Star Spangled Banner, or, Lee Greenwood sing, I'm proud to be an American. And that conflation is common and normal, but when it gets in the way of love and respect and honoring one another, I think that's really the challenge. But I always believe that love will win out over hate, and that begins with each of us.
Mm, thank you so much, Christina. I'm sure we could say many, many more things for a long time about this performance and what all this means, but you've given us a lot to think about. And anyone out there who missed the essay, check it out. The link is in the video description below. And yeah, thank you so much for chatting today, Christina.
Thank you. Glad to be here. And wepa!